Hello and welcome to a GC Basic demonstration. I'm just going to take you through what's called the Pref Editor and some changes to the Preferences Editor. But let's get straight into it. This is for technicians who want to go a bit deeper into the compiler. So here we go. I'm just got the editor open. I'm just going to open up a workspace. This workspace, it doesn't really matter what it is. I'm just showing you a piece of source code. Here is some source code, and it's for an LGT. Irrespective of what the chip is, what I'm going to show you today. On the left-hand side, we can see this is my source file, my GCB file. I've got an outline of the code, and when I was actually working on this, so if I sort of save it, it will update it. So what can we do in here that's different? What we can do, we can actually create what's called a CDF file, or a configuration or constants definition file, and in there you can see the inner workings of how constants are being used within the program explicitly. So this is new in the latest release of GC Studio. So here we go. I'm going to press function key F4 and open up the preferences editor. You can do this many different ways. I just use the function key F4 and type in pref and it will open it up. Great. I'm in preferences version 3.04. I'll zoom in on that for you. And what I'm going to show you is these are the programs I have selected, quite a few. And in the compiler, I have a few options I just want to take you through. I am just going to focus on this one here, create a CDF output file. And that's what we're here for today, looking at this. So if I create a CDF, check that, CDF output file, we're going to open that file up and have a look what's inside there. I've just saved that. Here we go. I'm just going to compile it up by pressing function key F6. That's my way it tried to program it as well, so I didn't, as it's not attached, it won't do that, but I'll just F6 it. So now we can see on the left-hand side this thing called a CDF file. Let me just open that up. A CDF file contains the configuration and the constants that have been defined within the program, hence CDF. It shows you what constants have been created by a piece of code, constants that have been created via a script, which is very specific to the solution, a script where it's changed a value, and an expansion of a multi-conditional or conditional test. We might not see any of those, but they just pull them out. And so if someone's defined a constant that's got some tests in it, like in the USR, just as in the serial connectivity, you may see it. So let's have a look what's in here. We can see, if I look at, just highlight that so we can see them all, that codes, this constants are defined in the program. And one for USR is defined on line 17 of my main program. I can see it's the main program because the file names are listed on the right-hand side. So if you are wondering where analog 0 was defined for this particular program, it's actually defined in this file. But we'll go back to the the baud rate. Let's look in our source line on line 17, and there it is. So now we can figure out where these constants come from. In this particular program, there are 2,400 lines. There's lots of scripts being run. I'll explain that. There are, let's have a look, 766 changes to constants in this program. Now this program is pretty comprehensive because it uses software serial, but in here we can see that we've got constants being added. We have constants being changed in scripts, and we got things that are adding constants within a script. So if you wanted to know exactly what the acquisition time select was, well, the default value is 4. You could then change that in your own program, and that would show up. Oh, actually, we could do that. Let's do that. Let's go into our program here. Whilst it's not really hash defined, I'm going to set that to 2. I'm going to compile my program. It will update the CDF file. come to the top of the CDF file, and it says that the acquisition time select bit is set to 2, but there must be other entries. There's 4 other entries in here. Well, there we go. The one that was there previously, and we'll have a look at that, has been overwritten by ours. So here, if I just delete the one I put in, really good example. F6 to compile it up. It's disappeared from my program. It's now being put in the program by this particular library, and we can tell that that's been done within a script. And what the script is essentially saying is, if the user has defined this particular constant, don't define it as number 2. It's quite simple. You could then open up that library, have a look to see how that works, but it's in that particular library. What else is in here? All the conditional statements for the program are also in here. So you can figure out what is exactly happening within conditional statements. So it says here that define a line. Let me just try and get something a bit more apparent to this program might be better. What is this program doing? Reading a sign table. Probably not going to be in here. Let me do something that will make it more apparent. Oh, I know, I'll add it at the bottom. I'll just add some code in here. If defined, something that has to be defined, AVR hash indif. I'll put my name in here, Evan equals true. As we know that this is, there we go, I didn't do that correctly. As we know that this is an AVR chip, we should see a new constant in here. And there it is, it's called Evan, it's set to true. And in here, you can now see the line that I've just added, line 55. Check that, line 55. If AVR defined Evan true. So it will actually show you the expansion of scripts within the compiler and how they've been handled. So it's a really good example that if you wanted to figure out, if I wrote in here, if pick, let's say different type of processor, the line Evan in here has no results because it has not been processed. So you can work out in here every piece of conditional statement that was compiled for this particular configuration and this particular program. If you don't want the CDF file, open up the preferences, compile it, and turn it off. If you then clean your configuration, pressing function key F4, clean the solution, gets rid of the CDF file and all these other files, you recompile it, next time it compiles up, the CDF has gone. Pressing F6. And now we're just back to the standard files. So what I wanted to show you today was the preferences editor, changes in here. Now you allow you to access to create the CDF output file without changing the configuration files at the lower level. And with that, I'll close that workspace. Enjoy.